your updates. Now, South Australia's Kangaroo Island was devastated by a ferocious fire over the weekend. Two well-known locals died in that blaze.
But amid the tragedy and destruction, there were also some incredible stories of survival. Our reporter Claire Campbell joins us now from Kangaroo Island. Claire, so you've been speaking to people who have had to leave their homes. You know, so much of that island has been burned, a third of the island. What is the feeling in the community today?
Well, this beautiful island is the jewel in South Australia's tourism crown, but it feels so far from that at the moment. That whole western half of the island is just a scene of devastation. House after house has been destroyed, and many of those homes have belonged to local farmers who've been fighting these fires on the island for more than 2 weeks. They are exhausted. They've been saving other people's properties, but at the height of that fire on Friday, it was just too ferocious and too strong. They could do nothing to save their own properties. Many of them had to flee to close by beaches just to seek some shelter for safety. We were at one home yesterday which wasn't destroyed. It's now housing numerous families in the area. And one thing that really stood out to me was a Christmas tree still set up with all the Christmas presents wrapped underneath it. These locals have had no time to celebrate anything in the past few weeks, and now there's more scenes of devastation and a huge cleanup. We also spoke to one man yesterday who chose to stay and defend his house and his art gallery with all his works, but the fire was just too ferocious as it approached, he said, and he had to flee. Probably too late from the warnings for authorities, but he fled in his 1960s Holden Premier. He said the flames were metres high. He just had to tear through that road, just focusing on the white line, just trying desperately to get to safety. He said he hit a cow on the way and you could see the massive dent in the car, but he just had to flee, and he got through to the Western Districts Football Club, which was also destroyed by fire. Somehow he managed to seek safety and survive. Obviously, we know that that hasn't been the case for some. The tragic deaths of two well-known locals, Dick Lang and his adult son Clayton, really rocking this community. They too had been fighting these fires for days when they were killed in their car and nearby their car on the Playford Highway.
And Claire, it's not just the human cost, it's the cost to the animals as well. We're going to be talking more about that, or we have already been speaking about that today. Just walk us through the koala population and the damage there.
The koala population is huge on this island, and we know that many have been brought here to Kings Cote, which is a safe area and hasn't been affected by the fires, to try and look after them. As we travelled the fire ground yesterday, we just saw thousands and thousands of dead livestock, dead wildlife on the roads as well. Not that they'd been hit by cars, that they were scorched and blackened.
Tragic.
There are many endangered species here as well, so we don't yet know the cost of what's happened. Much of the Flinders Chase National Park, which is home to many of these species, has been totally wiped out in this fire. It's still too dangerous out there for anybody to get in and assess the extent of the damage. But also that part of the island is one of the major tourism attractions here, home to remarkable rocks and the like. We've seen the very luxurious Southern Ocean Lodge just gutted by fire, the Caravan Park, another resort out there as well, destroyed. So a huge impact on all the assets on that western half of the island.
And just really briefly, Claire, what are the conditions looking like today and in the next couple of days?
Much milder, thankfully. The threat of the fire has been downgraded to an advice level, but there's still a huge risk of spotting and outbreaks, and we saw that yesterday when the fire actually again was upgraded in its threat. So the conditions are freezing today, if I'm honest. There is wind, but that's an island that's not posing much threat to authorities. And fortunately, we're told that there are no catastrophic fire risk days on the horizon. There's still massive damage to other infrastructure as well. During the fire, SA water assets were damaged. So now the entire island is on water restrictions. There's enough water for a couple of days yet, but locals and anybody left on the island has been told to significantly reduce their water intake, bringing it down to just drinking and light kind of bathing.
Right,
also,
Claire,
much of the power is out.
We'll have to leave it there, Claire.